be brave and give it a crack with your help. So it's a work in progress. I've said that many times. Zoran has taken all of the documents from all around the world around competency in relation to Feldenkrais, and with the help of Google and Wikipedia, refined the wording to come up with the beginnings of what we think might be a list of competencies that you can refer to. Now, so it's a work in progress, right? This is the beginning, and nobody's ever seen these before. And we want your opinions, and we want your feedback, and then we want your feed forward. So feed forward is more that advice and predicting what's going to happen next. And we're genuine about this. Why are we doing it? What has been noticed in the Feldenkrais community is that people can graduate and still not feel competent. Right? That's the issue, is that people will graduate and they say, I still actually don't feel competent. Competent, confident, I don't know what I can do or not. And that's distressing for us, because we see your competence and we see your confidence. We don't see your confidence, we see your competence. And so this comes out of this desire from us as training staff to help you actually know that you are competent, right? So that you know it. And you and I can have a conversation. I can say, I know you're competent because of this and this and that and that. And therefore, when you have your wobbly screaming fit, I can say, I know you're competent because right? And you won't wriggle away from it. Your competence will be undeniable because we'll have the evidence. However, what's the evidence for competence? So as training staff, and we talk about this a lot, when we see people working on the floor and with each other, we can see competence. We need to operationalize that so that we can convince you. And then you need to understand that so you convince yourself and other people. You know, you need to convince all of these people, yourself first, then other people and us. Actually, us probably least of all, because we need, and then let's say that someone isn't competent, then we've got a language to say, you're competent in this and this, and this area maybe not so much, and here's where it is. So you know what you can go and do about it. And it's not just that we go, no, I don't think so. And then you go, what? And you don't know. Now that scenario is probably unlikely to happen. The scenario that you don't feel it and we have to convince you is actually the more likely scenario, right? So that's a long talk about what this document is. It's words. Like I said, you will have your reaction. What we're asking you to do is to read it over the weekend. You don't have to come up with the answers about it. What we're interested in is how, let's just pick the first one, which is about the aims of the Feldenkrais method. Can you articulate the aims of the Feldenkrais method? How many ways could you demonstrate that you had that competence? So we've been talking over the week about, the classic way would be that you write it, or you do a video presentation, or you come up with many different ways of how you could, describe the aims to your plumber, to your butcher, to the airline steward, to, whatever. There's a lot to do with, being confident that you understand the aims of the method. How could you demonstrate that to your satisfaction and to our satisfaction? Would it be, could it be a painting? Could it be a video? Could it be a poem? Could it be, a piece of performance art? Could it, who knows what it could be? I don't know. Clearly I don't do performance art. Thank goodness. Laurie Anderson, I am not. It could be as traditional as you like or as non-traditional as you like, and then we can talk about it as a group, and we can, over the years, we can work through these competencies about how do we know, and it's how do you know when you get there? Like when you get home, how do you know that you're there? When you become competent, how do you know? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What can you do? Right? Are you willing to help us on this thing? Now, the international community kind of going, those bloody Aussies, you know, yeah. And Jeff Haller is one of the international trainers who's really spearheading this in the States. And he's meeting, I don't know, we've talked about it a fair bit. We have had teleconferences with him. He's so excited about this. Sorry? I agree. Uh-huh. Oh, so Anna's a convert. And you know, if someone is here going, this is a crock of shit, that's really fine too. You know, like it really, this is what we have to work with. We have to work with, yeah. So our first intention is for you to feel competent and to know that. Another intention down the track may be that this, you know, our trainings are accredited by an internal body. We want to be able to justify ourselves to funding bodies and, you know, other things. So there might be that's another layer of complexity that we're not fussed about in here. At this point in time, we're just interested in playing with this idea of moving in and out of competency and what it means. And it's not like it's a static place. And once I feel competent doing something, I'm going to stay there. You know, like I feel competent most of the time, but it's not like I always do. Yes. 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 Yeah. Both. Both. It is both. That's what we see and what we hear. And sometimes people's lack of confidence and belief, then they become incompetent. So they might leave competent. And because they keep gnawing away at themselves and their little critic on their shoulder goes, then actually when we see them, you know, a year down the track, actually they're not competent particularly. You know, so the two things are very interrelated, the belief, the confidence, and the competence. Yeah, knowledge and beliefs, you know, it is so intertwined. Now, what we don't want to turn this into is some institutional kind of test. We're not interested in assessment. So what you'll see that we've called it is landmarks for learning, as opposed to, like in my world, in the world of academia, this is sort of formative assessment. Formative meaning that it gives you information. It's not, it gives you a mark, it gives you feedback that is formative, that it helps you form yourself, as opposed to summative assessment, which is you're an HD, or I'm sorry, you're an F1, or P's get degrees, or whatever you like to say. So we're not doing that kind of stuff. We're not doing that grading, testing, assessment. This is about this exploration of a mutual agreement around someone's level of competence. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So, you know, we were talking about it last night, and Julie and Stephanie were there as well. And Julie was talking about, she's put in a lot more ATM teaching practice in the CS1, the one that's downstairs, much more than we would normally do. So practicum teaching, where you teach little groups and get a lot of feedback and stuff. And what she was describing to us is a group of people who feel really competent. She can see it, she can hear it, and they feel it. So it's not like this process hasn't been happening. So there's a lot of things allied to that. And I, you know, when I catch them in the corridor, I'm going to be asking them about how do they know they're competent? Because this is what we're really interested in. What is it? What does it feel like? What are the landmarks? What are the signs that tell them that they're competent? So Alison's gearing up to say something. Yep. Yeah. 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 That's what we want you to help us come up with. That third column. Exactly what we want us, what you can help us come up with. What do you think would be the kind of evidence that would convince you and me and Jenny and Zoran that you're competent in that? Yeah, absolutely fluid. That's right. It cannot be static. Absolutely. And it could very well be different, a different set of things for different people. Because if I said to everybody, you all have to paint a picture of, you know, the aim of Feldenkrais, you know, to demonstrate. Yeah, that's right. Some of you would freak out because you have that mindset, I can't draw, I'm not creative. Whereas other people, I say paint a picture and they'll breathe a sigh of relief because the thought of putting words down on paper freaks them out. Now, ultimately, if we've got this pool of ideas of how you can work with this idea of competence, you can kind of pick and choose a little bit, and we'd encourage, you know, let's say Kwan says, oh, I can't draw. Maybe she'll have a crack at it. And Linda says, oh, I don't do poetry. You have a crack at it. And Philippa says, I can't write to save myself. She has a crack at it, you know. So there might be quite a mix and match where you can just really test it out, because who's this for? It's for you. Now, you know, we'll be working with you with this. But we, you know, how creative could we be with this? That's the challenge. How creative could we be? Right? But that's why we need your help. Because if it's just Zoran and Jenny and me, we're so dull. We're so non-creative. I'll just wait, because Anna had her hand up first. Yep. No, so it couldn't just be a picture. No. Yep. But maybe you have a picture that depicts, you know, and the picture's kind of hard, but maybe the picture depicts a situation where you did do that. So maybe you create a set of examples where you do articulate the aim in different ways. So, you know, you can articulate the aim with somebody through moving them, or through talking with them, or through, you know, metaphor or whatever you like. So how you capture those is kind of up to you. I'm being deliberately vague because I want to keep this really open. You know, I don't want you to feel like we've set you something that's in concrete. We want you to feel like this is a fluid process. Now, Zoran's thing when he wrote this is, you know, that this is the constraint of language. You've got to put one word after the other and one line after the other, and it's sort of serial and sequential. Whereas this work is so dynamic and so spiral and so recursive and, you know, so non-sequential. But that's how it is. Oh, Zoran, do you want to just say, or Jenny say something?
I just want to say one thing. We're talking a little bit about, like, it's evidence at the end of the journey, when you've kind of got over the hurdle of being competent at these things. And I think for all of us, it's much more about helping with these landmarks and signposts along the way, so that when you have the sense, I want to learn to do this, I want to be good at it, I'm skillful at it, what could I practice this week? And what will I practice next week? And have I practiced that enough for the moment that I can now put my attention on something else? So that we help to fill in the descriptions of what these vast categories might mean.
Yeah. And it might be, you know, the metaphor is, you know, let's say there's one competency. You're thinking up something, so, you know, which is the equivalent of the dead bird spot. So the spot is here. And then next time you think about that competency, you think in terms of what you do, and the spot's here. It's that kind of flavour, you know, that kind of dynamic, as Mr. Plain said, it's fluid. Orion. Zoran, you produced the document. Do you want to say something about it?
Yeah. Basically, I just want to reiterate what you said. And the internal process And this is where the struggle was making the distinction between what I want to see at the end and what is usable for you as you travel along the journey, so that we can have dialogues with each other. And out of that dialogue, I get to know more about where you're at, and you get to know more about, oh, this is how they think about it. Oh, that's interesting. So that it becomes a place of richness and ongoing learning. That's the unfortunate part, is documents and using that lingo. So, however, if you can get underneath that and realize, oh, okay, wait a minute, I think I've used this during the week as well as orange. Yeah, remember the finger pointing to the moon? Yeah, the document's the finger. But really what we want to get to is for you to know what you know and us to know what you know, and we're on that journey.
All right. One more comment from Quine. Then we've got something delightful to do.
I'm a bit confused with all the big words and small words.
Yeah.
Would you say it is a qualitative and quantitative studies?
Qualitative. There's no quantity about it. It's not how big you are.
No, quantity in terms of if you have to do one move, how many variety of moves can you do to achieve the same result?
It's not going to be quantitative. It's not going to be in numbers. If you come up with, a landmark that's numbers, I'll be very surprised.
So it's a qualitative study.
Yeah.
Based on experiment.
Look, I don't want to limit you. If you come up with a Sudoku. No, look, in my world, in the academic world, there's this thing where, allied health professionals need to do 1,000 hours of clinical practice. It's just a number. So if we reduce this to numbers, okay, that's one thing that we could do. But it's not really the Feldenkrais kind. It's not really true to how we would conduct an ATM. Yeah. Quality. No, yeah, exactly. So that's why we haven't called it measures. It's about landmarks. It's about how do we know where we are. Yeah. One more. So I keep saying one more. It's bloody.
You said,
Friday.
how do you know you are right at home?
Yes.
I changed my home.
Yes.
Two times, and I know I am at home in the papers because it said Sylvia Finzi live in this street, but
yes.
I don't feel at home until don't pass. I don't know, many times I'm going home and I arrive home and I sleep and I wake up in that environment that I'm now calling home.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, maybe I will feel more confident when I repeat or just have the experience to work with or to practice with other person. That will be my home, Feldenkrais home.
Yeah. So maybe you're right, Sylvia, and maybe I jumped too soon at the quantitative, because there is an element of how many times I do it, how many times I practice this. But I'm not going to tell you you have to teach 100 hours of ATM. I'm going to encourage you to teach as much as you can. And because you've got these landmarks, as you teach, you can track how well you're going, so that you know when it feels like home, because I feel more rested in this. I can breathe more easily at home. It's where I think about. It's where I feel refuge. It's whatever I feel. There's some kind of response. So I'm going to draw the discussion to a close there. Your homework is just to read the document as much as you want or don't want, and have a little response to it. Let's see what responses we'll talk about at Monday. My delightful thing is to introduce you to Julie Peck, who's up the back. Now, you've heard us talk about Julie a lot, we work so happily together, and we've worked so happily together over many years in various training programs. So Julie's the educational director for CS1 downstairs, and Julie will be with you next year. This is the group. So Julie Peck, this is the group. This is Julie Peck. Julie comes from Perth. Philippa? You know, okay, good. No one else from Perth at the moment. So there's a delight in store for you next year in the form of JP, as it were. So Julie's just finished teaching 2 weeks downstairs. Zoran will be teaching downstairs next week. I'll be up here with Jenny. So, you know, you'll have a little, where's Zoran on Monday morning? You can go down and see him. I'll let you out sometimes and you can look through the door, through the window like that, just through the glass and go like that, and he'll go like that, and then you've got to come back.
There was a question that came up that might be good to reiterate. Your chronicle is for your eyes only. We will ask you to report from it or summarise something from time, but you never have to end. Okay?
Yeah, that's yours. Yeah, what you pull out of it might pertain to these, but that's what we want to negotiate with you guys. That's yours. So if you want to write Susan's jokes are really not funny, that's fine, because I won't know.
I was thinking of saying, maybe on domain is not man's target, it's several sort of taking around.
Yep. Fantastic. Well done, everybody. You've survived a week. Yay. Well done. Okay, have a lovely weekend.